This is the Resilience Code, turning adversity into strength, one story at a time. I am your host, Arbaina, and if you ever have a story of your own, there's a link in my bio. After fire, I wanted to talk about water because every time life heats up, you eventually reach a point where you need something that brings your system back down. Not an escape, not avoidance, but a regulation. Water is where things slow enough for you to see what's going on underneath everything you've been carrying. For most of my life, I moved like someone trying to outrun a storm. I worked more, I produced more, I planned more, and I stayed in motion because stillness felt unsafe. When you grow up in chaos, you mistake motion for stability. And even when you become an adult, your body still believes that slowing down is a threat. Water is the opposite of that. It's the moment where life tells you to stop fighting the current you created for yourself. There was a season where I noticed I wasn't bouncing back the way I used to. I wasn't collapsing. I wasn't breaking down. I was flat, neutral, tired in a way that didn't even look like sadness, more like emptiness. The kind where you wake up and feel a heaviness in your chest before you even remember what's on your calendar. I didn't understand it at the time. I kept telling myself, push through, keep going. That's what I'd always done. But the more I tried to force momentum, the more my body resisted me. I started getting headaches. My appetite shifted. My patience wore thin. Small tasks felt bigger than they should, and even when something good happened, it didn't feel good. That's water. Water doesn't show up loud, it shows up as a quiet truth. You need to slow down before your crash becomes permanent. One evening, I sat in the shower with the water hitting my back, and I didn't move. I didn't cry. I didn't think. I just let myself sit there. And it took me a long time to admit that this wasn't weakness. This was my body trying to rescue me from a pace I wasn't built to sustain. Water makes you honest. It reflects whatever you're avoiding. And when you're someone who survived a lot, you mistake honesty for danger. You think if you stop and look at the truth, everything you've been holding will collapse. But the truth is the opposite. Slowing down is the reason you're still standing. I noticed how often I adjusted myself for people who never adjusted for me. I noticed how much emotional labor I gave away without asking if I had enough for myself. I noticed how I kept forgiving things I didn't have the capacity to absorb. I noticed how being strong turned into being unavailable to my own needs. Water confronts those patterns. It brings everything to the surface, not to overwhelm you, but to give you clarity you could never find in chaos. Something shifted when I stopped pushing through and started listening. I slept deeper. I thought clearer. And I felt more grounded in my decisions. Not because life got easier, but because I stopped running from the part of me that was exhausted. In survival mode, rest feels irresponsible. In healing, rest becomes a requirement. When I talk about water, I'm talking about those moments where you finally recognize the difference between effort and pressure. You stop trying to prove something. You stop trying to be the dependable one for everyone else. You stop trying to outrun thoughts you've avoided for years. And for the first time, you let yourself float. Floating is not giving up. Floating is allowing your life to hold you for a second. And when you do that, you start seeing what's been misaligned. The friendships where you always initiate. The jobs that drain you more than they support you. The responsibilities you never agreed to but ended up carrying anyway. This is why water belongs in season 2. Because we're not talking about individual survival anymore. We're talking about collective exhaustion. The exhaustion that hits people who've spent years holding everything alone. The exhaustion that comes from being the strong one, the stable one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't get the luxury of falling apart. Water gives you permission to come back to yourself without guilt. When you finally slow down, your clarity returns. When you stop forcing movement, your direction becomes obvious. When you honor your limits, your life stops feeling like a series of emergencies. And the beautiful part? Once you've recovered, you don't go back to who you were. You become someone who chooses peace intentionally. Because once you've tasted what real peace feels like, you stop giving it away. So today, I want to ask you, where are you moving faster than your body wants to go? What truth rises to the surface when you slow down instead of powering through? And what part of your life needs gentleness, not pressure? Resilience isn't about how much you push. It's about knowing when to pause. Knowing when your body is asking for stillness. Knowing when to stay quiet long enough to hear yourself again. That's it for today's story. If it stayed with you, sit with it. If it helped, pass it on. And if you've got something of your own, the link is in my bio. You don't have to fix it. Just name it. And always remember, Resilience isn't about pretending you're okay, it's about choosing again and again not to be hardened, but to be changed.